Hello everyone, welcome to this week's discussion on Hurrying with Haley. This week's discussion is actually going to be about healthcare. I came to this by being here in Sweden. I've been talking to a lot of people about some of the differences between here and the US, and one of the big ones came to was the healthcare systems that both countries have. Sweden actually has a universal healthcare system along with other industrialized nations. The United States is actually the only industrialized nation that does not have a universal healthcare system. And that was kind of surprising for me to hear, because of course a lot of things we don't know until you hear them. And so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? What does us not having a universal healthcare system mean? What that means is that we don't provide healthcare to everyone in our nation, whether that depends on it being free and everyone is paid for through the government, or everyone is required to have it. That wasn't something that is a priority for our healthcare. Our healthcare is more mandated that if you want it, you can have it. If you want more benefits, you pay for more benefits, which I guess it's been working thus far. Is it great? I'm not the one to say that. According to the World Health Organization, we are ranked 37th when it comes to our healthcare system. So again, is it great? Can't say that. It's definitely not the worst, but I think when you look at where we put ourselves as a nation, the United States, that is something that we should be concerned with, is why our ranking is a little low when it comes to our healthcare system. And it actually is another concern is when you find that 45,000 people die each year due to the lack of healthcare coverage. And that's something those are needless deaths, because that's something that could be avoided if there was a system in place to help those people, because most of those people are people that can't afford healthcare. And a lot of the illnesses that they're dying from are chronic diseases that could be easily fixed if they were able to go to a doctor's visit more regulated, because they can afford it. And so for me the question is posed, what are we paying for? Is this something that is working for us still? And you have the Commonwealth Fund president of Dr. David Blumenthal. He actually stated that the U.S. spends more on healthcare than any other country, but what we get for these significant resources falls short in terms of access to care, affordability, and coordination. And that says a lot. That's saying that as a nation, we are putting money into the system, but the citizens aren't necessarily getting that same thing back, and that's important. Our system, in my opinion, it benefits a specific group of people, and those are people that are not necessarily wealthy but have the money to afford healthcare. The ones that have the better healthcare systems are the ones that survive, and those that have the better healthcare coverage are wealthier people. So your low-income people are the ones that are dying due to our system. And when you look at these statistics that say these things, it's easy to say, well, of course the United States is way larger when it comes to the scale of population. When you look at these other nations that have a universal healthcare system, our poverty rate is way higher to these countries as well. Well, for me, that's an even bigger reason to put a universal healthcare system in place. If you have a larger poverty rate, a larger percent of people that can't afford healthcare, wouldn't you want a system that benefits them? The way our system is set up, it doesn't benefit them. We're pretty much saying we're okay with you dying because you can't afford it. The system is a luxury. You don't have to have it. If you want to help yourself and get healthy, you can. If you don't, then you don't have to. That's the way our system is set up, and I don't agree with that. I think that we need to have a system set in place that benefits the poorest to the richest. Everyone has access to being able to be healthy if they want to. I mean, I guess you can choose to go to the doctor, but at least you can go without having to pay a bill that you can't even afford to begin with. And that's the way our system is set up, is a spiral effect of not being able to afford your own health. And there are a lot of people in the United States that say that they don't want a universal system because of the cost. It would cost more. There's taxes involved, and for me, that's something that it shouldn't even be a thought when it comes to, wouldn't you want your nation to be healthy? You're saying that you don't want to, you feel it's against your rights to help the person that can't afford to have a healthy life? Of course, there's people that take advantage of that, of course, but if there's a large majority that simply don't have the means to afford good health care, why wouldn't, as a nation, we find that a priority for us to be able to help everyone? We should want our poorest and our richest to be healthy. I think, personally, I don't know, maybe that's crazy thoughts, but I just think that this is something that we need to look into. If we're wanting to be the best nation, we need to be able to be healthy. And right now, only a percentage of the nation can be healthy because those are the ones that can afford it. And I don't agree with that. As I said, I definitely think the way our healthcare system is, it benefits those that have money and can pay for the cost. And if that's what we want, if we want a system that's just a luxury, then it shouldn't be called healthcare. It should be called something else, because that's just an add-on, basically, is what you're saying. It shouldn't be healthcare because you're going in the name for caring for people's health and wanting healthy people, but you're saying that it's at a cost. You're like, we want you to be healthy, but you need to pay for it. If you can't afford it, then I guess you can't be healthy. And that's the wrong attitude, I think, that is to be had when it comes to something that should be as a human basic or a citizen in a nation. We should be able to be healthy. We should be able to go to the doctor and get treatment if needed. And so that's kind of my rant for this week. It's definitely been an experience being in Europe, because obviously there's a lot of differences when you look at it compared to the US. And as I said this week, healthcare was one that really stood out to me, because I think it's something that here they take for granted because it is free. Everyone can have it. But looking back at the US, you're like, why are we paying for all this if it's not even the best? That's what I'm saying, is that maybe the issue wouldn't be paying for it if we had the best healthcare system, but we don't. So I think that's something that we need to look into. And obviously there's a lot of things that come into fixing these things and changing things, but we need to change things. We need a better system to help everyone. And I think that's what the basics of this is, and what we need to start trying to figure out is we need to start by having a system that benefits everyone. And that's all I have to say this week. I hope to harangue with you guys next week.